Today I will make this gospel from last Thursday, with Dr. Bezerra de Menezes. I will read this time. I put a comment from me and write in English because I have difficult to talk fluent English. The lesson was the sacrifice most pleasing to God, from chapter 10, from Gospel from Spiritism. Second Spiritism, Allan Kardec, with explanations with spirits about Gospel of Jesus Christ, New Testament. 7. If therefore, when you present your offering on the altar, you remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift at the foot of the altar and go first to be reconciled with your brother, and afterward return to offer your gift. Matthew 5:2-3 and 2:4. 23-24. It's all in computer. 8. When Jesus said, go, this is an explanation. When Jesus said, go, first to be reconciled with your brother before presenting your offering at the altar, he is teaching that the sacrifice most pleasing to the Lord is the sacrificing of one's resentment, that before presenting oneself to God in order to be forgiven, it's necessary to have forgiven, and that if wrong has been committed against any brother or sister, it's necessary to have repaired it. Only then will the offering be pleasant, because, let me see the pronounce.
Pleasing.
Okay. Pleasing. It's necessary to have forgiven, and that if a wrong has been committed against any brother or sister, it's necessary to have repaired it. Only then will the offering be pleasing, because it will come from a heart purified of every evil thought. Jesus materialized this precept because the Jews were used to offering material sacrifice. He had to adapt his words to their customs of Jews. Let me see the pronounce. For me, don't make sense.
Jews.
Jesus realized this precept because the Jews were used to offering material sacrifice. He had to adapt his words to their customs. Christians don't offer material gifts. They offer a spiritualized sacrifice, but the precept thereby takes on an even greater import. They offer their soul to God, and that soul must be purified. And entering the temple of the Lord, they must leave behind every sentiment of hatred and animosity and every evil true against their brothers or sisters. Only then will their prayer be taken by the angels to the feet of the Eternal One. This is what Jesus is teaching by these words. Leave your offering at the foot of the altar and go first to be reconciled or reconciled. I think reconciled, but I don't have certain.
Reconciled.
Reconciled. Leave your offering at the foot of the altar and go first to be reconciled with your brother or sister, if you want to be pleasing to the Lord. The speck and the plank in one's eye. The speck, I think, speak is other thing. The speck.
Speck.
It's so high with his voice. You see?
Speck.
Okay.
Speck.
The speck and the plank in one's eye. How is it that you see a speck in your brother's eye, but you don't see the plank in your own? Or how is it that you say to your brother, let me take a speck out of your eye, while you have a plank in yours? You hypocrites!
Hypocrite.
You hypocrites, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will be able to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Matthew 7, 3 to 5. 10. The explanation of the speck and the plank in one's eye. One of humankind's defects consists in seeing someone else evil before seeing the evil that is within ourselves. In order to judge oneself, it would be necessary to see oneself in a mirror, stepping outside of oneself somehow and regarding oneself as another person as kin. what would I think if I saw someone else doing what I am doing? Most assuredly, it's pride that leads people to distinguish their own defects, both moral and physical. This fault is essentially contrary to charity, because true charity is modest, simple, and non-judgmental. Prideful charity is nonsense, since these two sentiments neutralize each other. In fact, prideful charity is nonsense, since these two sentiments neutralize each other. In fact, how can certain people who are vain enough to believe in their own self-importance and the supremacy of their own qualities possess at the same time enough self-denial.
Denial.
Self-denial, to point out in someone else the good that might eclipse their own instead of the evil that might make them stand out. It's a great question with so much words. In fact, how can certain people who are vain enough to believe in their own self-importance and the supremacy of their own qualities possess at the same time enough self-denial to point out in someone else to good that might eclipse their own instead of the evil that might make them stand out? If pride is the father of many vices, it's also the denial of many virtues. Pride may be found to be the basis and the motive for nearly all actions. That is why Jesus devoted himself to fighting it as the main obstacle to progress. I don't will comment because it's clear. We first also see for our problems and not a point with a physical gun to other. Then I will read a test of other book that complete this test. This Jesus and Gospel in the Light of Deep Psychology by Joana de Angelis Spirit from Medium Divaldo Franco in Brazil. In Brazil, as a great bibliography. Let me write. Brazil, there is an extensive bibliography of books given to us by the spirituality of mediums with a balanced life, which proves in parts, but certainly that they are entitled to receive messages from good spirits. We must always observe the behavioral content of the medium we wish to read. We must take care. In our world is this way. We must take care with medium that are giving us knowledge from spirits. Then the lecture of Joana de Angelis by Jesus and the Gospel in the light of deep psychology light. Scandals. It's the chapter, I think it don't have number the chapter. No, only chapter is this name, Scandals. Chapter 8 from Gospel, 18:12. Hold to the word because of scandals. St. Matthew chapter 18 or 1:8, verse 6. Everything that violates the established balance constitutes a scandal.
Violate. Violate.
Everything that violates the established balance constitutes a scandal and irreverence that attacks order. As a consequence, the effects of the harmful act produce resonance disharmonizing the individual and with him the social group in which he is situated, as it constitutes an imbalance in the one who practices it. Scandal from the point of view of depth psychology is a manifestation of the shadow that remains in vertiginal expansion in human beings. It will expansion if we let it go. Let it go, no, let make this. It will expand it. Is a manifestation of the shadow that remains in vertiginous expansion in human beings, generating addictions and morbid habits that lead to deeply disturbing setbacks, since they end up affecting those who share his coexistence, affection, invariably In this case, it's of an intimate nature, and no one becomes aware of it because it remains acting on the dark side of the personality, fomenting emotional and behavioral disorder. Behavioral. Behavioral disorders of various sizes, which turn into conflicts of conscience when faced with the ethical, social, and spiritual aspects. Almost always the individual immersed in the shadow from which he finds it difficult to free himself, disguise the imperfections, projecting the unreal image of a behavior that is far from possessing, but which often becomes severe towards order and very tolerant towards others. With your own mistakes, once this psychological transfer of behavior is established, he begins to live in a whirlwind of passion and torment of afflictions that he tries to disguise with skill. The lament of the man Jesus over the scandal carries an unusual energy in his speeches, inviting attitudes that would be absurd if considered in the New Testament letter, which calls for the elimination of the organ through which the scandal is processed before it awakens in the life beyond the body, which is degenerated per spiritual model. Pay attention. Was the spirit of Joanna de Angelis. Joanna de Angelis was lived in Christ epoch and is spirit of high level, and his name is in the Bible too, with other name, not how Joanna de Cusa. It was name of the spirit in past, which calls for elimination of the organ through which the scandal is processed before it awakens in the life beyond the body, which is degenerated per spiritual model. This is because This is because all the mental constructions of the spirit before reaching the body and inducing it to action from any source are decoded by the intermediary agent, who is responsible for boosting the physical form in the execution of the psychic purpose. One my note now, not of the original text, my note I want to make. This is to say that Dr. Jorge Andrea in Brazil, who was a doctor and military of the Brazilian Air Forces, in his book, The Psychic Strength of Soul, reports that through the various abuses that we inflict on the body, we are changing the cells of the organ where we infringe, abuses, and we are modifying our spiritual body. Spiritual body is not this, is intermediary to soul and body. Spiritual body that involve the soul. This spiritual body is the semi-material material and make the link to soul with this body. Soul, the spiritual body, and body. 3 bodies we have. We are soul and have spiritual body and material body. Material body is it's reflex of perispiritual body. Peri and periphery. No. Around. Peri. Around. Spiritual. Peri is spiritual. Around the soul. Okay, and this doctor, in other book, say that we are changing the cells of the organ where we infringe, abuse, and we are modifying our spiritual body. When disincarnated, we find ourselves in deep distress, and God, in His mercy, provides us with a physical body which reflects, however, the modifications that we caused by abuse of various orders in previous lives, not only in sex abuse, not other abuses, how suicide, how kill other woman kill a man, cause woman's I don't know how to say this in English. Feminicide is in Brazil. Femicide or contrary to. This is abuse too. And other abuse that we may make, how smoking, it's late suicide, slow suicide. Work so much, it's considered in some cases slow suicide. It depends to intention you have. If you are a good act, but with intention to retire your life, it's suicide. Your intention will show you in your conscious when you come in another dimension. It's open for you. Then we ever must see in ourselves and our intentions in each act we are making the body act, all this will change for good or for bad your very spiritual body. Cause all acts, how Joanna said here, all the mental constructions, all things first grow here, because this all doctors, or not all, but all people that take care with health say, change your mind, your mindset will transform your very spiritual body. Because this is so important, change bad mindsets. And what Joanna said is, all the mental constructions of the spirit before reaching the body, and inducing it to action from any source are decoded by the intermediary agent, who is responsible for boosting the physical form in the execution of the psychic purpose. If you know this, if you understand this, we will have motive to change our mindset in first. Spiritual body. When disincarnating, we find ourselves in deep distress, and God, it is my note still, in His mercy provides us with a physical body which reflects, however, the modifications that we cause it by abuse of various order in previous lives. This is how we can rebalance ourselves again, by returning to the spiritual plane without the previous suffering. The suffering we pass in this body will balance us again. Returning to the test. Therefore, understandably, the matter is not responsible for the actions. The matter is not responsible for the actions of which it will be induced. Reason why strength and weakness of character, will action belong to the spirit and not to the body. All things start in the spirit. All acts start in the spirit. We are spirit. We are, let me see the word. We are a bundle of desire, action, and memory. Desire, action, and memory. Desire, action, and memory. This desire with action. Cut all these points, or desire, or action, or memory is more difficult, but memory, if you can cut one of these points, you can let vicious, or without cut, but made desire, action, and memory of good, you will construct a good present and a good future for you. It's so important, and I catch this in Deepak Chopra in your book, The Seventh Laws of Success. Well, continue the test. When disincarnating we find no. Therefore, understandably, the matter is not responsible for the actions to which it will be induced. Reason why strength and weakness of character, will, action belong to the spirit and not to the body, which always reflects the origin from which they proceed. The occurrence of disturbing and unfortunate phenomena is inevitable, considering the stage in which human beings are delayed their prior conduct, the acts to which they are linked. However, when someone rises to censor, this is important too. However, when someone rises to censor and condemn without moral authority for the act, he also produces scandals too. When we make this, and we must make this, when we make this because we are the same, we are wrong too. How a person that we make this is a scandal too. Without moral authority, when someone rises to censor and condemn without moral authority for the fact, he also produces scandals by hiding the deficiency and is exerting himself in the one in whom he projects the inferiority that he would like to eliminate in himself. This proposal also includes the duty that everyone fulfills, which is to respect the decision, which is to respect the decisions and actions of others, because anyone who stands up to prevent the development process of others for whatever reason commits a scandal of aggression to its free will, enveloping it in its shadow from which it cannot free itself. This is the test of gospel had read on Thursday. We don't, this test, yes, we are follow normal test, but not gospel of Christ, not, we are open, free, the free form, we are open, where open we read, okay? We don't choose gospel of Christ, the read, we don't choose. Here we are follow normal, the book normally. Okay, only a detail. I hope you are good, and I desire you have the great weekend. Until the next live.